bulletin, and I'm going to stop at verse 19. See, I have set before you this day life and good, death and evil, and that I command thee this day to love the Lord thy God, to walk in his ways and to keep his commandments and his statutes and his judgments, that thou mayest live and multiply. And the Lord thy God shall bless thee and the land whither you goest to possess it. But if thine heart turn away, so that thou wilt not hear, but shalt be drawn away and worship other gods and serve them, I denounce unto you this day that ye shall surely perish, and that ye shall not prolong your days upon the land, whether thou passest over Jordan to possess it. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life, say with me, life and death, blessings and curses. Therefore choose, say that, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. How powerful is that? So that thy seed may live. I want you to reflect on that. Choose life so that you, what is your seed? Your children may live. In this passage of scripture, God is telling us it is totally your decision. You get to choose how your life will go. You have two options: life and prosperity, or death and destruction. Now, many times when we're reading something, we want to find the in-between the lines, the but, the what ifs. What if I was dealt a bad hand? What if mama didn't do what she was supposed to? But guess what? There was no in-between the lines. Because God said you have the power to choose. So it doesn't matter what you were dealt with. You have the power to choose. So if I was to give this message a title, it would be Generational Curses or Generational Choices, with the subtopic From Choices to Change. Now bear with me, guys, because you know by profession I'm an educator, so research is what I do. As I began researching generational curses, I came across an article that took me by surprise. It made me think just a little bit. The author started off this way. Scripture clearly communicates that consequences, not curses, are passed down through the generations. And this is, the Bible says that the children are punished for the sins of their father to the third and fourth generation. In Exodus 20:5, it says, you shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of their parents to the third and fourth generation. See, I'm going to be a little transparent here. I can only talk about what I know, and that's my family. See, growing up, I had an alcoholic father. And if daddy came home at 3 o'clock in the morning and wanted to talk, you had to get up and talk at 3 o'clock in the morning. For me, that was punishment. I grew up in the projects. Many of my friends' mothers were on drugs. That was punishment for them. Because one day, mama might decide that she's going to spend the rent money. She might decide that she's not going to buy you any clothes. Now you have nowhere to go. Your mother decided to buy a rock versus pay her $50 a month rent. So that's punishment that they had to live with. So yes, I'm going to be real. I'm going to talk about my life. Can't talk about anybody else's but mine. Then the author shocked me even more when he said, the descendants of those who hate God are likely to follow in the footsteps of their forefathers. So as I try to make sense of this, my mind is going back and forth. For years I have heard that we are suffering from generational curses. As a kid, I took that literal. See, I don't know about you or your family, but in mine, we were plagued with alcoholism, adultery, abusers, womanizers, and speaking my truth, pedophiles. So if the actual sin is not passed down from generation to generation, why are multiple generations plagued with the same issues? So I had to go deeper. I found an article that says Science confirms Bible on generational curses. So after just reading something to the contrary, I'm more confused, but I open the article and begin to read it. It says, new brain research reveals that your habits are passed on to your children and your grandchildren. Now stay with me because I'm going to take you there. We might get a little tangled up, but trust me, we're going to come out in the end. Now science was not my best subject in high school, but I remember the study of evolution and Darwinism. Many of you know that. So we're not going to get all the way into there. But something that stood out to me is that the author said that science is now confirming what the Bible spoke. That what Darwin hypothesized was not true. Now we all know this, but now science is starting to see it. See, I was introduced to a new word. Some of you may have heard it. It's called epigenetics. Anybody ever heard of epigenetics? Epigenetics is information that sits above the genome, which controls the programming of our DNA. It's instructing the different cells to express themselves. Dr. Montgomery explained it this way. Sensations we put into our brain will use the DNA, say change, to change how the cells respond. And those genes are turned off and on based on our responses. While the DNA itself does not change, the expression, say expression, the expression of the DNA does. The fascinating part about this is that our DNA is not unchangeable, but that environment markedly, say our environment, markedly affects our gene expression and the ways that we function. Now think about that. It's not news, but think about how your former environment or your current environment affects you. But think even more, this was my aha, how my past environment is going to affect my child. Because it's to the next generation. So let's look at this. Epigenetics reveals that not only do we pass along the DNA sequences to our children, but we also pass along the epigenetic instruction to them. In other words, this is another example. So growing up from the South, Pastor Jokes called me and my sister Geechee, Miss and Sister Logan, and we have to correct them because we're from North Carolina and not South Carolina, so we're not Geechee. But growing up, I found myself, my mother, my grandmother, my aunt, my sister was addicted to something called cornstarch. Cornstarch. Do you know what cornstarch is? You're supposed to cook with it. But it was something that we ate. And one day, my child was about 3. I walked in the kitchen and I see white powdery stuff all on the floor. And I'm like, what is this? And I said, what is this? And she looked at me with those eyes and she said, I ate the powder. I said, you ate what? So I'm trying to figure out what did she eat. So I'm like, oh Lord, who do I need to call? And I said, where's the powder that you ate? And she showed me the box of cornstarch. And I'm like, how does she know to eat cornstarch? Auntie was her babysitter when she was a baby. But this had been 2 years ago. But that had been passed on to her, that she liked cornstarch. To this day, her daddy still has an issue with it. Mommy, can I please just have a little bit? Mommy, can I please just have a little bit of that cornstarch? So for me, that was clear evidence. It might be cute, but that was something. That was an addiction because of epigenetics that was passed down to her. So this is where it all began to make sense to me. It's not that God had passed down the curse from generation to generation, but the choices we make, the food we eat, the things we watch, the things we expose our mind to can affect our DNA expression. We are passing those expressions to our children. So if you are addicted to food, porn, alcohol, or drugs, it's likely that you are passing that instruction down to your children. Now, let's not get it twisted. I'm not saying that this is all bad. There are positive things that are passed down as well. For example, my sister told us that she is a woman of order and she doesn't function in chaos. I see those same characteristics in my nephew. What does this all mean? This was a breakthrough to me. We have the power to change our circumstances if we choose to. Because guess what, y'all? Epigenetics is reversible. See, it all makes sense now. See, if I am strong enough to call on God and to choose the power of choice that He has given me, I can reverse some of those bad habits that were passed down to me. Because if I don't, I can no longer blame my parents when I become an adult. Ezekiel 18:1-4 says, "The word of the Lord came to me. What do you people mean by quoting this proverb, a proverb about the land of Israel? The parents eat sour grapes and their children's teeth are set on edge. As surely as I live, I declare that, sovereign Lord, you will no longer quote this proverb in Israel. For everyone belongs to me. The parent as well as the child, both alike belong to me. The one who sins is the one that will surely die." So I cannot blame my mother now that I'm an adult. I know this as an adult. I know that I can't change the hand that I was dealt with. But I'm going to speak to the child in me. I'm going to speak to the child in you. I'm going to speak to the child that is sitting here listening to me. Not everyone is strong enough to choose life when they have been dealt a bad hand. Not everyone has a big sister or brother that has set a good example for them. Not everyone has a school teacher to take them under their wing. Not everyone has a friend that will let them spend the night when things are crazy at home. Not everyone has a trusted adult to listen when they need someone to talk to. Not everyone has someone to say, "Tikila, you are enough." Not everyone has a youth group at church that keeps them busy and working in the community. Not everyone has a praying grandmother that falls on her knees daily for their souls to be saved. Not everyone has the mental ability to come out on their own. So parents, I say to you, if you have the ability to change and to avoid generational chains, wouldn't you want to? So I'm talking to myself here. Maybe you can relate and maybe you can't. See, in my immediate family and many others, we have stood to denounce those things that we grew up calling as generational curses. We stood strong to affirm and said, "No, Satan, no more. No more will I allow the next generation to be exposed to the things that Aunt taught me." We said no to alcoholism. We said no to adultery. We said no to child molestation. We said no to spousal abuse. We said no to drug addiction. We said no to homelessness and joblessness and so much more. As a community, we are finally standing up and breaking the silence on so many of those things that affected us. You see, we have put things in place. We talk about things out loud that were once taboo. We tell our children to speak up if someone is doing something to you. We tell a woman that you have the power to choose. You don't have to be a victim. We have created safe places to say, "I need help. I have a drinking problem." You see, we are putting things in place to say the generational curses and or choices, however you choose to say it, we believe that have plagued us for years. We put things into place to say no more. But here is my but. I had to say to myself, Tikila, those are not the things that still have you bound. Those are not the chains. Those are not your current chains. Those were not the DNA expressions that still plague you. So it was a little bit easier for you to say no to those things. So real transparent moment for me. See, growing up, I had a family full of women survivors. And I'm going to let you ponder on that. See, the men were there, but they were just there. Some of them. They lived by the golden rule, do as I say and not as I do. Can anybody relate to that rule? But I don't know about you, but from me, I learned by what I see, not by what you say. But again, I'm only here to speak my truth. Because those women were in survivor mode, I never really heard the words, I love you from those women. I never really had those warm, gentle embraces from those women. I didn't have many of those heartwarming conversations, you know, like the ones you see on Lifetime and Hallmark that tell you about womanhood. But don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that they didn't love me. I know they did. But it's a difference from knowing and feeling it and hearing it. I learned a lot of valuable lessons from those women. I learned how to press forward in adversity. I learned how to never give up. I learned how to give selfishly. I learned how to provide. But I also learned how to show no emotion or to truly give and accept real affection. Ouch. Yeah, that's my chain. See, now I have to fight hard for those things that I missed. And trust me, I fail often. But in the days that I fail, I know I have a little girl and a husband that it affects. I think about all the sins in my past that I committed because of the DNA expression that was passed down to me just to be in survivor mode that I didn't know was affecting my life. See, this is the one that I'm still fighting for the power to change. So I'm asking you to pray with me, church family. See, I found myself when I was younger in situations with people that said I love you lousy, that gave me those warm embraces that I missed as a child, that listened to me and just talked to me. See, I found myself in the wrong places with the wrong people. I think you know what I'm saying. This made me look back to the women before me. Can they relate? I said to myself. So I had to think about how my choices could affect my offspring. What if my inability to say I love you unprompted, my struggles to hug her and to allow her to just lay on me just because, my hesitations to hug her and say that it will be okay? What if my busy work schedule and my many evening phone calls with my sisters, my dinner by the TV with lack of conversation, what if because of those things, she finds herself later in her life in a situation that she can't get out of because she's searching for what mommy was unable to give her? That's my reality. Do I want to pass those same things on to her so she can pass them to the next generation? No. So I have chosen to fight back to break those chains. I have chosen to allow her to tell me what she needs more. I choose to allow myself to be uncomfortable until it becomes a norm for me. I choose to have family game night just because. I choose to have dinner at the dining room table with no interruptions. I choose to listen to her talk about her classmates even when I want to be by myself. Not only for her, but for my family, and to look deeper for her family. See, it's never too late. Now I can go back to some of those women, those same women who didn't know how, and I can tell them I love you, and they'll tell me back. I can give them a gentle hug, and now they'll hug me back. But I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying it's work. But what I'm saying to you, it is necessary. Because I'm looking at from generation to generation. How many of us have been plagued to be in survivor mode? How many of us have looked at our children and said, you just go and you be but we have not poured into them all that they need. How many of our children are sitting in schools hurting because nobody is having a conversation with them? How many of our children are exposed to things that they have no idea even existed? Because guess what? You never even talked about it to them. So they're dealing with challenges that you were dealing with, but you never talked to each other about it. So we're creating another generation with the same things. So family, I ask you to think about the choices that you make daily. The choices that were made for you and the choices that you are now forced to live with. The environment in which you were brought up in and the environment which you are in now, how similar are they? Have any of those choices become your chains? Are there choices you need freedom from? Now, I'm not saying this is going to be easy. It's not as easy as saying, yep, not going to do that anymore. We pray, we fast, we study, and we pray some more. But guess what, family? This has been taboo, especially in the Black community. Many of us are dealing with issues from childhood trauma that have been passed down from generation to generation. Many of us are dealing with things from adulthood that we've been exposed to. And many of us are dealing with things that we have been born with. It is okay to get help. It has always been taboo. We will go to the doctor if we stub our toe. But we sitting here and our mind is 50 places, but we won't go get hurt. So what are we saying? That as long as I'm physically okay, it's okay for me to be mentally bound? I don't believe that, family. I believe that we need to create a space to say it's okay to get help. We are plagued with things. There are children in elementary school that are dealing with depression, anxiety, and so much more because it was passed down. And mama and daddy just dealt with it. You just said, oh, that's the crazy aunt. Oh, that's the crazy cousin. And you just went on. These are things that we can get help with, and we don't have to live bound. If God created the doctor to give you physical medicine for an ailment, why don't you think he created that same doctor to help you with that mental stuff that you need help with? It's okay to go to therapy. Have you looked at your child and said, if something is going on and you need to talk to somebody, we can do that together. But we choose not to. We can pray about it, and Lord knows I know the prayers of my grandmother kept us from a lot. But I'm happy to say that there are people in this generation, I have cousins who said, I know that there's something different about me. And they chose to go get help. And I'm looking at her mother and saying, that's the same thing that you're plagued with. And I'm thinking about how some of this stuff could have been avoided in their lives. Some of this stuff that our children are dealing with is because they have things that you never talk to them about. All of those taboo things that happen in the family that we have to sweep under the rug because you never talk to them about it. And they're going crazy in their mind. But all they got to do is talk about it. You got to listen and you got to let them talk. Whew. Thank you, Jesus. Deuteronomy 13 and 19 says, this day I call the heavens and the earth as witness against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now choose life so that you and your children may live. Family, all I'm asking you to do is think about those things that have you bound. My chains might be different from your chains. It's not my job to stand here and call out your chains, to call out your addictions. That's between you and the Lord. It was for me to have a transparent moment, for me to think about those things, because like I said, I've given my testimony before, and it's easy for me to stand before you and to say that yes, I'm a victim of child molestation. That was easy for me. I never hid it. But it was hard for me to say that because I was a victim, I realized that there were many other victims in my family. But the thing that had them bound was because they were victims, they became survivors. And they shut up. They didn't talk about it. And my sisters and my brother, I only have one brother, they joked a lot when I was little, and they called me emotionalist. I'm not emotionalist, but I learned because I was in survivor mode to shut it down. I learned not to talk. I learned to just be. But what I also see in that is that when I was going through things, I would go to my family and I would just look at them, and sometimes I would think that I was the one who's like, is God real? Does God, why do I not see or feel like they feel? And why is it a joke that I don't have emotion? I do. But what I learned most of all, is not a great lesson, but the lesson that I learned was not how to love. I thought I was loving. But what I've learned is everybody needs love in different ways. Right. And the way that I need love is not the way that my husband needs love, or the way that my child needs love. But if I was not taught those things, how can I give it? Right. And so I'm looking to you to say, what are those things that have you bound? I don't know what they are, only you know what they are. But I think about the children that are here. They have to have children. I think about how many seats that are empty. But I think about you that may be thinking about children in your future. I'm talking to my children. Think about those things in your mother and your father that you love. Think about those things in your mother and father that you wish was a little bit different. Are those the things that you want to pass down to your children? Even my babies, are those the things that you want to pass down to your children? But I'm grateful to stand before you to say, remember, epigenetics is reversible. We have the power to choose.